It was one of those moments that gave me chills, but made me proud to be British. Just 6 minutes into the West Ham versus Chelsea humdinger on Saturday, and the biggest, most impassioned applause and standing ovation of the day ripped around London Stadium. A picture of the murdered 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo-Hughes on the big screen, united football fans in grief and in fury.
Tragically,
clubs around the country paid tribute to the young Birmingham fan, so brutally tortured and murdered by his subhuman stepmother, Emma Thompson, and sorry excuse for her father, Thomas Hughes, in a crime almost too appalling to even wrap your head around. But we must talk about what happened to little Arthur at his home in Shirley, where he was isolated, poisoned and starved before being beaten so badly by depraved Tustin that he was left with an unrecoverable brain injury. His death is absolutely the fault of that evil woman and Hughes, who should rot behind bars for the rest of their sorry lives, probably being illegally tortured by fellow prisoners along the way. But it could and should have been prevented. As I have been warning for the last 20 months, these human tragedies are exacerbated by lockdowns and the closure of schools that saw civil society grind to a halt. That must never happen again. How many other Arthurs are out there being abused every day as their parents hide behind a system where COVID allows them to take untold time off school? There were at least 3 warnings from teachers and relatives, including his grandmother and uncle, about poor Arthur. But social workers who visited just 2 months before his death found no safeguarding concerns, in their words. That proves the system is broken. The Children's Commissioner, Dame Rachel de Souza, said yesterday,
I think there are other awful things going on up and down the country that have been hidden by the pandemic.
I think there's no doubt that lockdown was such a shock to the whole nation that it weakened the system of support. It was a terrible time for the whole nation. It's also why I think we must not close schools again. Most children are in school. Most children want to be in school. Now, why are children not in school? Some of it is COVID. Some of it are other reasons. And one thing that my office is doing, and I know the Department for Education are doing, and I know that ministers are taking incredibly seriously, and I urge them to take even more seriously, is digging down into the why. Is it because, as you know, as a head we've often seen, we just need to go out there and get them in?
Dominic Raab responded this way.
Lots of families enjoyed a bit more time together. For those that are the victims of domestic abuse, it has been a very serious time. Some of those risks have been magnified.
Yes, Deputy Prime Minister, which is why your government must today pledge never to shut down schools again and to ensure the pingdemic doesn't allow parents to take their kids out of education for weeks on end with very little consequence. As Trevor Kavanagh writes in today's Sun, the closure of schools at the height of the COVID panic also removed a crucial chance to spot the 130 bruises on this poor lad's body. Certainly, his absence from the classroom would have been noted. Yet, with millions of children now jabbed and immune, 200,000 pupils are absent from classrooms as militant teachers and sage communists clamour to work from home. He's right. So too is Brendan O'Neill, who wrote in a powerful column for Spiked, the fact that should haunt our institutions and our collective conscience is that this catastrophe could possibly have been prevented. Representatives of the state visited Arthur during his months of torture and poisoning, but they did not recognise the great difficulty he was in. Worse, his extended family, the people who loved him, tried to raise the alarm to little avail. Most disturbingly of all, they were threatened with arrest if they attempted to visit Arthur during lockdown, when household mixing was banned. Yes, Arthur was killed by 2 individuals who should never walk free again, if there's any justice in this world. Their sentences are far too lenient and should be re-examined. But he was let down by a locked down society where the usual checks and balances that should protect vulnerable kids were thrown out the window due to a virus that barely gives most children a sniffle. Where is the justice in that?